Hi, my name is Juliana Smith, and today we'll be talking about empathy and active listening. So as an opening activity, I want you all to take a few minutes to think about a person in your life who you would consider your supportive person. So think of someone who has always made you feel supported and heard. Write down their name and take a few minutes to write down things about them, actions and words that they've shared with you that make you feel supported. So we're going to watch a quick video. It was made by Brene Brown, a social worker, and it is called The Power of Empathy. Okay, so that is Brene Brown, and take some time to discuss your reactions to that video, maybe times that you yourself or other people have used those at least statements, and really thinking about if anything from that video reminded you of the person that you just wrote about, your supportive person. So let's go through these video reactions, and again, you can discuss these with a group, or you can think through these on your own. Thinking about what about this video reminded you of your supportive person, what you can offer instead of those at least statements, and any other reactions that you might have had to this video. Okay, so with our clients, these are some ways that we can be empathetic and that we can show that we're being empathetic. One that is hugely important is listening without judgment. And we're going to bring back the case of Maria for this workshop. So thinking about her case and ways that we can show that we're being empathetic by listening to her without coming up with our own thoughts or judgments about her situation while she's talking in the back of our mind. The other thing is not putting our own morals or values onto our client's situation. So I may believe that marriage is the most important thing and that there's never a reason to leave your spouse. That's just an example of a moral. And so I would never want to put that belief or moral onto my client's situation and judge them for their choices based on my own morals. The other is assuming that our clients are the expert of their own situation. In the case of Maria, we are giving her the autonomy to decide whether or not she wants to stay with Rodney, and we are assuming that she is the expert of her own life. She knows a lot more about herself and her situation than we do. And even if you've been working with a client for 5 years, you still defer to the client to make their own decisions. And we are merely there to support them and help them work on whatever they choose to work on. Lastly, a really important part about showing that we're being empathetic is not jumping to how can we solve this problem. A lot of times we care so much about our clients and we want to see their lives improve. We want to see whatever presenting problem they have go away. And that is not our role and that is not our job. We don't want to immediately say, okay, these are the things that you need to do, X, Y, and Z, and that will fix your problem. The client is the expert of their situation, so we are listening to what they want, we are listening to their story, and we are going to work through any solutions that they think of and be kind of a sounding board or a mirror for them. So again, I'm going to put up Maria's case so you can read through it and remind yourself about it. Okay. So in the case of Maria, let's talk about some ways that we can be empathetic to her choice to remain in her relationship with Rodney. So I think the most important thing here is that we are not we don't want to be judgmental of Maria's choices, and we want to show that we're being supportive. So we want to, again, be listening actively. We're not trying to solve this problem, what we see as a problem in her life, because at this point, Maria doesn't see it that way potentially, and so she's the expert of her own situation. And also, let's take some time to think through some reasons why Maria might not want to leave her husband. I think it's important to be able to take the perspective of our client and try to think about their full context and their full support system and think through some obstacles or reasons for why Maria is making the decision that she's making. And these can be, so many things. She might love Rodney. That's her husband. She's been with him a long time. There might be financial concerns for leaving. She might not want to leave out of fear. There are so many reasons that someone would choose to stay in this relationship. So just taking time to think through her perspective and some possible reasons why she might want to stay, that's important to do so that, again, we're not focusing solely on our own thoughts and opinions and our own beliefs or morals. We're thinking about the client in her system, in her full context, and trying to see her perspective. So I mentioned listening as a really important way to show a client that we are being empathetic and that we are being supportive. And active listening is a way that we can position our bodies, use facial expressions, and basically it's a way to show your client that you're listening. So active listening helps us to build trust and establish rapport with our clients. It's a way that we can demonstrate concern. We ask specific questions that show that we've been listening to what they're saying. And while they're talking, we can use verbal confirmations, things like saying, okay, I see, rather than, butting in with whatever we have to say next. giving them more time to articulate. So why don't we take some time to think through, and you can imagine conversations that you've had with people where you know that they're fully listening, they're fully engaged, and what was their body language? What sorts of things would you notice about a person that would tell you that they're listening? So things that I came up with are making eye contact, having a body posture that's leaning in towards the client, open posture, meaning we're not sitting back with our arms crossed. So open posture, leaning in. Nodding is a good way of showing that we're following along with the story. And of course, just listening. So you're not multitasking on your phone, you're not talking to somebody else, you're not interrupting to check your phone, things like that. The other one is mirroring expressions. So if your client is talking and they're really sad and their facial expression is really sad, you can be listening and also be making a sad facial expression to show them that you're on the same page, you're really engaging in what they're saying. Same with mirroring posture. So if you have a client that's sitting down, rather than standing over them, we like to sit down with them and just kind of mirroring whatever their body is doing to show that you're connected with them in that moment. All right, so we're going to do an activity with a partner. So get with somebody else, and for the first 3 minutes, one of you will share something about your life, something that's been going on that's a stressor for you. It doesn't need to be anything too serious or hard to talk about. And the partner is just going to listen for 3 straight minutes. Don't say anything, just listen, and use that active listening body language to show your partner that you're listening. After 3 minutes, we'll switch, and the other person will just listen for 3 full minutes. And at the end, you can give some feedback to your partner about what you noticed about their body language, what showed you that they were listening. Also, you can talk about how it felt to not speak for 3 minutes and just listen. And also how it felt to speak for 3 full minutes and have the other person just listen to you. So reflect on how this activity made you feel. Great, so we're going to dive into the next portion of Maria's case. So a week after that second appointment that we had with Maria, she calls you from the hospital. Unfortunately, she has been beaten up pretty badly by her husband, and she's asking if you can come to the hospital to pick up her children so that you can watch them for a few hours while she's at the hospital. So think about what you would do in this situation. Keep in mind your boundaries as a professional and what you feel would be appropriate in this situation as a response to this question. So getting a call like this is very challenging because you care so much about Maria as a client and you've gotten pretty involved in her story. What we do know is that going to the hospital could put us at risk legally if we were to take the children because they're not our kids. And Rodney might end up calling the police saying that his children have been taken. So legally, taking the children from the hospital into your care is not a good option. I do think that going to the hospital would be appropriate in this case if you wanted to make sure that Maria was being taken care of and that her children got into the appropriate hands. Showing up at the hospital with her children, we're assuming that CPS would be contacted. But if you want to go and make sure that the children end up in safe care and provide any information that you can to help to advocate for Maria, that would be appropriate in this situation. And that would be something that you could do within the boundaries of your relationship. But thinking about, take some time and think about how you might feel going home later that day, knowing what had happened, talk through how working with Maria at this point is making you feel, what fears or concerns you have, and how you feel you can support her moving forward. In closing, this case is a very tricky case. It can be very emotionally draining, caring so much about a client and witnessing so many things happen to them that we wish wouldn't happen. So it's really important to take care of ourselves as providers. So I want you to think about 3 things that you could do after a day like this working with Maria to take care of yourself and make yourself feel a little bit better, a little bit calmer. So think of 3 things that you would do after this case. That's all for today. Thanks so much for watching.